To see a full house. It motivates us. Thank you all for coming. Everyone is welcome tonight to our Hialeah City Council meeting of October 25th, 2022. I am now formally calling this meeting to order at 7:09 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Calvo,
Present.
Ms. Casal Munoz. She stepped away. Ms. Garcia Robles,
Present.
Ms. Perez,
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Present.
Mr. Tunidor,
Present.
Mr. Zogby.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a full council.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you lead us in the invocation, please?
Lord, we pray for your guidance and direction and benefit of those who live and work in the city of Hialeah. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. The Pledge of Allegiance is supposed to be led by Councilwoman Casals Munoz. Could you help us with that, Councilman Rodriguez, and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you.
Everybody face the flag, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting guidelines, please.
The following guidelines have been established by the City Council. All lobbyists must register with the city clerk. As a courtesy to others, please refrain from using cellular telephones or other similar electronic devices in the council chamber. A maximum of 3 speakers in favor and 3 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the council on any one item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No signs or placards in support of or in opposition to an item or speaker shall be permitted within the council chamber. Any person, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, interested in making comments or posing questions on matters of public concern or on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Members of the public may address the City Council on any item pertaining to city business during the comments and questions portion of the meeting. A member of the public is limited to 1 appearance before the City Council, and the speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The public can view public meetings on the city's YouTube page. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have on item 6 of our agenda tonight a few presentations, wonderful presentations we have, but the first person on behalf of the mayor, of Mayor Bovell, and the rest of my colleagues up here in the council, I would like to welcome, and as our first speaker, our City of Doral Mayor and Commissioner-elect Dade County District 12, right?
Correct.
Commissioner, Mayor, the floor is yours, sir. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice President, the rest of the council. It's an honor to be here. I just wanted to come by, number one, and say thank you to all of you for the support you gave me during this very interesting race for District 12, and rather interesting race. Many years ago when I came back from law school, I had the opportunity to serve on a board here in the city of Hialeah. And now, who would have thought? There's some people here that know me since my days at Sparks Park when I grew up in the city of Hialeah. And now I have the honor to represent the city of Hialeah, the western part of the city of Hialeah, in District 12 and at the County Commission. So thank you to the mayor. Thank you to all of you on the council for supporting me. I want you to know, I chose to come by briefly and let you know that I'm very honored to represent the city of Hialeah at the County Commission. I look forward to working with each and every one of you. Hialeah has a special place in my heart because this is the place where I grew up. And, I look forward to it. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I wanted to personally come and let you know that my door will be open. And hopefully, I'll be working with you very closely as we move forward on items that are important, not only to Hialeah and District 12, but to all of us in Miami-Dade County. And just know that, like I said, You all, I think, have my cell phones. You all have some of you, I've known your parents for a long time too. Some I've represented, so as a lawyer. So, it's just a great honor. And again, I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. Your support was very important, and it was very deeply appreciated. And I'm very thankful for that. And I look forward to representing you in the Board of County Commissioners, which I know most of you try to avoid, correctly so. So,
Thank you,
the
Mayor.
understands what I'm
Don't
talking about.
leave.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Don't leave. Mayor?
Yeah, look, I think I want to applaud not just the voters of the Doral area that makes up this great district that AC represents, but also the voters of Hialeah. They picked right. And we send somebody to the county commission that not only has experience, has understanding of government, but also has been able to build the relationships. And we're going to tap into those relationships, right, to be able to better our community. We're going to have, when the dust settles, Rene Garcia will still be our main commissioner, right, Renecito? But there'll be two other new commissioners serving this area of Hialeah, and obviously a collaboration of working together, which is something that we aspire to. There's a lot of needs in our city that I think the commission is going to be able to work directly with us. So, and we also collaborate on the TPO, on issues related to transportation, and so there's going to be a lot of work, I think, that goes on between you as a commissioner now and we as a city, and I know that opened doors not just for me, it's for the entire board to be able to tap into you as a resource. So.
Through the chair.
Anyone else? Yes.
Thank you, sir.
You are recognized.
Thank you. Mayor, thank you. Thank you for all that you've done and the work that you've done in the city of Doral. I mean, it resonates, and the job well done that we've seen in your past has even shown here in Hialeah. I'd like to tell this story. I think I told you once. I got a complaint once from a resident, an issue, and they told me, yeah, I'm going to call J.C. Bermudez, and you're going to call J.C. Bermudez for what? And he says, well, because he's the mayor of Doral, he's going to take care of it. And so it just shows you that again, there's a lot of folks here in Hialeah that respect you, and you've earned it, sir. And again, thank you for everything.
Absolutely.
I usually give them your number when they call to complain. Anyone else? We're lucky to have you, sir.
Yes,
You got big
absolutely.
shoes to fill. We feel safe with you filling them. Ma'am, did you? Yeah, you're
I
recognized.
just want to recognize you. I mean, the work that you've done in Doral is phenomenal. You're a decent gentleman. You could tell by the way you ran your campaign. You're a family man. You're a Hialeah boy, at your heart. And we're just very lucky to have you. We had a great relationship with Pepe Diaz that was there. And I know that that's going to be a very easy transition with your office now. And I'm excited to see what we could do together for our city. Because at least a little slice of what you did at Doral, if you could do that here, we'll be very appreciative. So thank you. Thank you and congratulations.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't think I need to say anything else other than you and I have gone for many, many years together. And the thing, every time I speak to you, the first thing that comes out of your mouth is, I'm Hialeah. And I always say, no, actually I am, but that's okay. I allow you to say that. But the fact that anywhere you go, you always remind people that you came from Hialeah, and what you've done in Doral has been spectacular. And I applaud you for all that you've done, not only there, but here as well. So I'm looking forward to working with you now that you truly represent by the people, the city of Hialeah. Thank you so much and God bless.
Anyone else? Sure, you can go have dinner now.
Yeah.
Again, congratulations.
Wait, where are we going?
sir.
Thank you very much for the
Congratulations.
kind words, and they're deeply appreciated. And I really look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Next presentation, would you like to read it, item A on presentations, Madam Clerk?
Presentation of a certificate of appreciation to Mr. Gustavo Horta in recognition of 14 years of service from December 11, 2007 through September 27, 2022 to the city of Hialeah as a member of the city's Cultural Affairs Council.
All right. Is Mr. Gustavo Horta
Of
here?
course.
Hey,
Of
come on up,
course.
sir. All right, we're coming down to you.
How many years is this?
14.
14 years.
That's how many years in dog years? I don't know.
A lot, a lot.
You have a few, want to say a few words?
Either way. Dear friends, thank you to the city of Hialeah for this recognition. In 2006, we worked with the city on its first Cuban art exhibition. And for the last 14 years, from 2007 up to date, with a fantastic group from the Cultural Affairs Council. I am already an old man, un viejito de Hialeah, who is still willing to support the city in any activity related to art. Once again, thank you to all of you for this honor.
Okay.
Published?
Thank you again, Mr. Orta. I'm going to change things around because our last presentation, we're going to leave the building and go outside. So let's
I'm gonna see.
finish what we have going on up here. So we're going to jump, if anybody has the agenda, we'll be jumping to item D on presentations where the city of Hialeah recognizes the following employees from the fire department. They're all rookies, 25 years to 38 years of service. So, Mayor, we're going to recognize 3 of our veteran employees today, sir.
All right, so if, obviously, all of you are welcome to come down for these recognitions. And this is something that we started because we wanted to recognize those employees that have, spent so many years providing service. And in many instances, we as the elected body stand on the shoulders of a lot of these employees that have given so much for our community. So the first one, I'm sorry. So today we have 3 of them, and ironically, the baby of the group is 25 years of service. And so come on down, Paul Albolafia. I blew that. Did I mess it up? Eh? Actually, you gotta help me. I gave more of an Italian tinge to it, but we're sorry. Okay.
I know how to talk on this thing. I grew up in this city. I was born in this city. I worked for the parks. I worked garbage. I wanted to give back to the city. So being a fireman here has been something I've always wanted to do. And I just wanted to thank the city of Hialeah, the citizens, all you guys for having me here for so long. And, I heard you were giving us the 10-year drop, so I'm going to stay another 10 years.
It's always the fire, guys. Yeah, I know, I hear you. All right, now for a 30-year service award, Denise Guillen.
Yeah, started Hialeah. I was born and raised in Hialeah. Started working here when I was 12. Yeah. For the fire department, the whole 30 years.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, and my parents also worked for the city. Yeah. Thank you. Thank
We're
you.
honored. We're honored that
Thank
you're
you very
doing
much.
this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And then our last recipient, who's been here 138 years.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
He looks
Sorry.
good. He
Sorry.
looks good.
Sorry. Anthony Carnival, come on down.
They were named after the St. John's Carnival.
I guess it's a question and answer session. Since I've been here the longest, I can answer anything back from way, way back when. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate this, and the council. I appreciate this. It's very nice that this has been put together. Just as a little extension, this goes back. My grandfather volunteered here in the 50s as a reserve police officer, all the way to my dad being involved in the city, all volunteer. His wife was in the city. My wife was in the city for 30 years, 31 years. My son is now in the city. My daughter even worked in the city a couple of years. So from the Carnival family, we're grateful for all the city's given us. So thank you very much.
Let's give everybody
We go downstairs and go up and do the two things. Wait.
Our next presentation will involve Red Ribbon Week. And for that, we are going to go downstairs to the front of City Hall. You're all invited to follow us. Okay, and we'll be back up here in a few minutes. Thank you.
This is my expert witness. I'll put him last. I'll put him last. This is my expert.
Exactly. No, he's working for you.
Okay. Look, it's cold in here, right?
A little bit.
Bueno, no te olvides.
Sí, 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 sí.
Audience, I promise I'll hurry up.
Do we have quorum?
Ya lo aplicaste. Ya lo aplicaste.
You
Ya se lo aplicaste, ¿no?
My God. Bridget, the
at 7:50. There was never an interruption to our meeting, but we're back in chambers. We will continue now with item 7, comments and questions. Madam Clerk, do we have anybody online or anybody who in advance?
Online, no, sir. In advance, no as well.
I see we have a gentleman at the lectern waiting. And sir, your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes, sir.
I will try to make it less than 3 minutes. Good evening. My name is Frank De La Paz, 9361 Bird Road. Just a comment, and if nothing happened, then it will be on new business. We have an employee lounge on the ground floor that, yes, we understand I'm not supposed to enter there, but I do. There's a vending machine, and the vending machine doesn't have a local business tax valid. It has been expired for many years. And the first bottle of water on the left, if you put the money, it will not vendor. It will take your money. So, and it's also the little crackers on the right-hand side.
That's
And
all run
one
by
of-
Public Works.
And, whatever it is,
Duly noted.
please do something with that vending machine. There is no contact to, put a claim for the money. And, it's nice, though, to the extent that when it gives you a refund, it gives you
A bottle of champagne.
Bitcoin?
gold color dollar bills. That's the only good thing about that machine. It gives you $1 on a gold coin, but it's fake gold. So
It's Chuck E.
can
Cheese
somebody
money.
look as to why at least they can pay a local business tax if they're gonna be ripping us on the water? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Duly noted. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you, Frank. And sorry that happened. Anyone else? Comments and questions? Item 7. Having none, right? Let's move on to, Madam Clerk, announcement of amendments and corrections to the agenda, please.
Items PZ1 and PZ2 are postponed until the city council meeting of November 8th, 2022. The following items have been added to today's agenda. Consent item II, consent item JJ, KK, LL, MM, NN, OO, PP, and QQ. A declaration of restrictions has been added to the backup of items PZ4, PZ5, and PZ6.
Thank you. Item 9 is consent agenda. Does anyone on the dais, and also I must allow anyone outside of the dais if they want to pull an item and discuss it. Having no one outside of the dais, will of the council on the consent agenda or pulling anything?
Through
Sir?
the chair.
Yes, sir.
Item PP.
Councilman Calvo, item PP. Go on, sir.
No, that's it.
Have a motion with me?
Oh, that was it? Okay. Anyone else? I know we have a motion.
Second.
Second. Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Rodriguez. We have a second from Councilwoman Casals Munoz. Please call the roll except for item PP.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Motion carries. The consent agenda has passed except item PP.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you read into the record item PP? please?
Request permission to issue a purchase order to SRS Engineering Incorporated, vendor approved by the City Council on March 8th, 2022, in accordance with the recommendations of the City Selection Committee for Engineering Services, and provide engineering services to assist the city with the ISO compliance fire hydrant maintenance program to support the city's ISO review in a total expense amount not to exceed $422,919.27. The funding for this expenditure is to be withdrawn from the Water and Sewer Division Fund Capital Outlay Infrastructure Account Number 450-9510-533-630.
Thank you. Councilman Calvo, you have the floor on item PP of the consent agenda, sir.
Thank you. Director, can you please kind of go over, what this item does?
Armando Vidal, Director of Public Works, 3700 West 4th Avenue. The item is for us the Department of Public Works, in conjunction with the fire department, to undertake a study of all the fire hydrants in the citywide, in order for us to ensure that we maintain the rating of the fire department as a Class 1 department, and also to ensure that the insurance rates that are charged in the city are as low as possible. And that's the purpose of the item.
Understood. So will the cost of the study cover any repairs if needed, or it's just sort
I
of
don't-
inventory?
I don't believe that the cost of the study covers repairs. That was an issue that we talked to the consultant about. Repairs will be undertaken by the department.
Um, Can you give me, I guess, some idea, because obviously the amount is what kind of caught my eye, the 422,000. I guess the question is, why is this so expensive?
It is expensive because you have to visit, in my conversations with the fire department and discussions with the fire department, we're going to visit every fire hydrant. Before, we used to do it on a random basis, selectively, but this time around, we're going to visit every fire hydrant. And after that, that requires a lot of manpower to do that. After that, depending on what kind of report we get back, then we'll make a determination on the repair.
How many fire hydrants do you know? Out of curiosity, not to put you on the spot.
The number that sticks in my mind is about 6,000, but I'm not sure if it's fire hydrants or manholes, to tell you the truth. I got a lot of numbers that, but I can get back to you on that.
Got it. I'm scrolling through here. I think it's 3,000 hydrants. Yeah, 3,000 hydrants. So it's $71 per hydrant to test. So that's 200,000. Valve maintenance is about 53 bucks per the 3,000. So yeah, it's about $120 per hydrant. And then I guess, other expenses as needed. Employees, 12 employees. I guess the question is, look, I know we had a little bit of a contentious debate a couple weeks back with the budget. And to wrap my head around this, like, how can we afford this?
How can we afford it?
Correct.
You can afford it because I think at the end of the day, it helps the city from a standpoint citywide, not only the fire department to ensure that all these hydrants are working, but also in a way to ensure that the rates for particularly the commercial properties are as low as possible. So it's beneficial for the entire city. How can we afford it? This is something that we have in the budget. From an engineering standpoint, there is a line on the budget as approved, talk about consultant work. And so from that basis, it's something that is beneficial for the city.
Right. Do you know, I mean, I don't need an exact date or anything, but do you know in the past, like when was the last time, I guess, something of this nature was done?
Yeah, I think Seralta did it for us. I want to say more than 5, 6, 7 years ago. It's a long time.
Okay.
The last time it was done.
So after the study's complete, then presumably there'll be some sort of expenditure to fix the ones that need to be
Yeah,
fixed.
correct.
And no ballpark estimate on what that could be? Okay. Yep, thank you. I'm all set.
If I may, through the chair.
Ma'am?
Hi, Mr. Vidal.
Hey, how are you?
I have a question. As part of the scope of work, are they going to be including any kind of like radius map telling us within our new development if there's some locations that we need to install new hydrants? Because I know we've had this conversation before with a resident. Remember the resident that his house burnt down and there wasn't a hydrant that was near his house?
Right.
And now in order for him to get the license to start building that home again, he first had to pay us and Public Works to bring the hydrant to his area, and then he could build. And that was going to be like an exuberant amount of money.
That is something that is simple for the consultant to do. I don't see that as a major effort or even an additional effort, since they got to visit each and every hydrant. But I got to tell you that there's sections in the city where the hydrants are far apart. And that's one of the main reasons where when there is development going on, even forget about the new city, even in the old section of the city, where we require anyone doing an extension of water to install hydrants. And we have participated, we the city have participated on the installation of those initial hydrants as well.
Okay. So within that scope of work, if we could get that, I think that that would be beneficial for us. But then if we do need to install new hydrants, would we be able to get any funding through our reserves in the water department to install this, since it would be a new development and expansion of our new project?
We can look at that once we have received the results of the study. I think once we have the study, I don't mind coming back to you and discussing the results of the study. And then just like Brian was saying, come back and say, okay, these are the number of hydrants that would need repair, and that carries X cost of dollars. And we can go ahead and do that as well.
New hydrants. Okay, perfect. I'd appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Rizal.
Through the chair.
Sir.
Just one last thing, Armando. So for new fire hydrants, let's say for new areas that we potentially even annex, could fire hydrants be paid by water impact fees? Can your impact fees pay for a new hydrant?
We don't have water impact fees. We have water connection fees.
Water connection. Can the water connection piece pay for that or no? Just for my knowledge.
In the annexation area.
In general.
The annexation area is easy because when development comes in, we require, the
Right.
fire department requires, and we require
Okay.
the hydrants be installed. The issue comes in the older part of the city. And there's sections of the city where you may have more than the 300 linear feet that are required in between fire hydrants. And those areas will be addressed here. And at that point in time, we can discuss what it would take and if we can afford it.
And how often should this analysis be done?
I'll leave that to the fire marshal, but 35 years maybe?
Annually? Annually. Okay. When was the last time we did this?
Oh, we did these years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago.
Okay. And this is important, and I'm sorry, this is important for the chief for your rating, right?
Yeah.
Hydrant testing is supposed to be done annually. Last time they
Chief,
did it
name
was
and
2000.
address, just as a formality, please. Thank
Chief
you.
William Scarra, Hialeah Fire Department, 83 East Fifth Street.
Thank you, sir.
It's supposed to be done annually. The ISO rating, because we have the highest rating there is, which is a class 1, our citizens pay a lower fee, especially commercial.
Perfect. Yeah,
It's the reasoning
right.
behind that.
So this is important.
This is
Yeah.
extremely important.
Thank you.
As far as what needs hydrant and how they need hydrants, that just depends. When somebody comes in, depending on the type of, if it's a house, it's 500 feet from where the house you're building. Now, minimum, it has to be drivable distance. That's when you come across maybe individuals in the older section of East at Hialeah, they want to build because there were businesses where they were grandfathered in from years ago, not grandfathered, just open. Once you change it, it's going to require certain, it's going to trigger certain benchmarks. No?
Mhm.
So you're going to need a hydrant that's close. And that was under. So.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. Motion.
Oh, I have one more question.
Go
if I may,
on, ma'am.
Councilman.
And I recognize your motion. Go on, ma'am.
Thank you. It's for Mr. Rizal. I just wanted to double check. Mr. Rizal, if we're going to be adding for an additional line of scope of work for these technicians to now tell us, what additional hydrants we need in the city, is that going to increase the cost?
This consultant has worked for the city for many, many years. And I don't want to speak for them, but I'm pretty sure that they will not object doing that.
Okay.
It will be simple.
It's not going to be another line item on the invoice.
They have to visit the area anyway.
Right.
And it will be simple for them to make some kind of a notation that we can review saying, hey, on this block, there are
Got it.
hydrants missing.
And how long is this study going to take?
I would say maybe 6 months, maybe a little bit less, maybe 3 months, maybe in that range, depending on the manpower they assign to it.
Chief, is that okay with your timeline of when you need to reapply to get our rating? But I don't know if he has like a deadline of,
The number was 4 months.
We should have it by the end of the year to make sure it counts for this year. If not, then it's going to count for next year. And you're a little obviously behind. It should be on a yearly basis. The way ISO works is on points. Water's part of the communications, fire, training. There's a bunch, but water's a big portion of how we get points. So yeah, it would be great.
So we're getting penalty points.
Well, we don't get
for this?
penalized. It's done every 5 to 6 years. The ISO rating, it's not done yearly, but then they look back at your past records. What's your training for the last 3 or 4 years? What's your hydrant testing for the last 4 to 5 years?
Okay.
And then you need to get at least a 90 to keep a class 1.
So Chief, is this an investment that we should be doing every year? Because 400,000, is this something that us as a fire department could kind of go out and test our own fire hydrants every couple of months within that year, and then every 5 years pay a consultant to make this kind of investment?
Well,
Would that still fall within the points system?
It needs to be tested. No, they need to be flowed. They need to be maintained. You need to make sure they work. As far as fire, because of training, because of all the other things we do, we would have to take units out of service to go and do this. Normally, it's always done by the water department, here and throughout other departments.
But I'm saying this is a consultant, so this would be $400,000 that we would pay yearly? Is that typically what's been done before 2018, 2017, 2016? This was an investment that the city was doing every
I
year?
believe the city did it a few years ago. As far as fire, we just need them tested and flowed and make sure they work. How it's done, I don't know what would be more.
I think the logical answer is that if you do every fire hydrant in the city, which is the intent here, then maybe next year you do it on a random basis and make a determination, and you would generalize to the entire population of fire hydrants from that perspective until you find a failure. And then at that point in time, you go back and you say, okay, now it's been 4 years, 3 years, whatever. We need to do it citywide again.
And we've always used this company to do that random?
They did it. The reason we went with them and we recommended is because they're extremely familiar with this study since they did the last study.
All right. I second the motion.
So we have, thank you, sir. Thank you, Armando. We have a motion from Councilman Tundidor on PP, and we have a second from Council Vice President Perez. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Ms. Casam Munoz? Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you, sir. We are at item 10, administrative orders. Madam Clerk, can you read 10A into the record, please?
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending the organizational structure of the city, placing the functions and operations of retirement under the supervision of the Human Resources Department as a division of Human Resources. Amending Chapter 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Hialeah entitled Administration, Article 2, Departments, Offices, and Divisions, providing duties and responsibilities of the new Retirement Division and other amendments to conform. Providing for a severability clause, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for inclusion in the code, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Item 10A is on second reading, open for public discussion, if any.
Motion.
Otherwise, pleasure of the council. I have a motion from Councilman Rodriguez on 10A.
Second.
Second from Councilman Tundidor. Please call the roll.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Ms. Casam Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, 10B, please.
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance amending Chapter 42 entitled Floods and Water Management for the purpose of ensuring compliance with the state's floodplain management model ordinance and National Flood Insurance Program, repealing ordinances in conflict hereof, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for inclusion in code, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Item 10B is on second reading, open for public discussion as well. Having none, pleasure of the council on 10B. We have a motion from Councilman Rodriguez. Was that you, sir, Councilman Tundidor, as well?
For second, yeah.
For second, from Councilman Tundidor. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Ms. Casam Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. That concludes our administrative portion of tonight's agenda. We move on to 11 board appointments. Madam Clerk, can you read 11A, please?
Proposed resolution appointing Ismari Monreal as a member of the Defined Contribution Plan Committee as the mayor's appointment.
We're not going to reject her, but do you want to add anything, Mayor?
Please vote positively.
Motion. Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion
Second.
from Councilwoman Casals Munoz on the
In a second.
board appointment and a second from Madam Vice President Perez. Please call the roll.
Mr. Tundidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz, Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please read 11B into the record.
Proposed resolution appointing Pedro de Faria to the Oversight Committee of the City of Hialeah Elected Officers Retirement Trust to serve as the Director of Management and Budget.
This is another administration appointment. And I'm sorry?
Yes.
Motion. Do we have a motion on? We have a motion from Councilman Rodriguez. We have a second from Councilwoman Casals Munoz on 11B. Please call the roll.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz, Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved.
If I may, through the chair.
Ma'am.
I'm just looking at, I had asked Ms. Leal to send me an email of our board list. We're still missing some boards that have empty seats. I think our Veterans Board is one that's empty. And I just wanted to ask if Ms. Leal, can you send this email to the rest of the members to see who's missing what? Because I know that sometimes we forget. And I think there's some that are still pending oath, but I'm not sure. And there's some vacant seats, so if we could fill, at least to get our Veterans Board up and running, ladies and gentlemen, I think if we could do that before Veterans Day, I would be very happy. Let's make that a goal if we're still missing.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
did you say make that a vote?
A goal.
Oh, a goal. I'm sorry.
Because we have
I'm
Veterans
sorry.
Day coming
I
up
understood vote.
and we haven't been able
Yes,
to
very
get
good.
that. And I know that, I have over here our Parks Director, Mr. Sanchez, Willie Sanchez, is a strong advocate for our veterans as well. And so I know that we're eager to get this ready, up and running, and he has some amazing ideas. So let's make that a goal if we can. I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Madam VP.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Duly noted.
That's
Through
fine.
the-
That's fine.
Through the
Sir,
chair.
Yes.
Just briefly, real quick, just to touch on 2 points. Mayor, one of the things that we've talked about is that Hialeah has one of the largest concentrations of long-term care facilities in the state of Florida, especially around this downtown Hialeah area. And the majority of these facilities are these single-family homes repurposed for 6-bed facilities. And I think because of the nature of that, it would be very important for us to have some sort of long-term care advisory board where we can, offer these folks a platform to be able to communicate between us, the county, maybe even the state, especially when we see things like natural disasters and Hurricane Ian that we just saw. So if you're good with it, I'd like to move forward with Lorena on crafting some of that language. I believe we have someone in your staff as well that would be interested in participating.
I think she was already writing notes, so yes, I think it is a good idea, and you're absolutely right as far as the amount that we have in our community. I think progressively looking at this would behoove the city.
Perfect. All right, thank you, Mayor. And then the second point, it's a topic that we've been talking about for maybe a couple of years now, and and something that was said when we discuss daycares and then the expansion of schools is consistency, and it's sometimes difficult to do that when we don't have certain language to guide us. And so Mayor, if you're good with it, I'd like to work with Lorena and with your staff to be able to craft something, bring the industry in. We can have these conversations and at least to have something in the books and say that's a standard.
Yeah, and I absolutely, and I think, Councilman, as you start kind of navigating these waters, I think you're gonna have to probably bring the state in at some point, right? And help kind of guide this. as I mentioned to you, our, and I think, you know, planning and zoning department, fire department, our building and zoning, all of them have been kind of wrangling with this a little bit, as far as, you know, daycares, where they go, and then the potential of expansion and what that impact is. And then globally, are they actually preparing children to enter into the school system wherever that may be, right? And we've heard some mixed results on this, and that should be concerning. You know, some of these places have become or babysitting places that then turn into some sort of school setting.
Right.
Where are the kids learning to read and write? Are they preparing them? You know, so, yeah, I think it's something, again, long term, we need to look at this because it's not going to go away.
Yep. All right. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
I guess we're at new business. We've kind of blended into one
Through the
else.
chair.
Sure, yeah.
So I just wanted to take a moment. Obviously, you know, we've all seen the news and are somewhat aware of what happened, the incident with someone who ran for this very body, the Hialeah City Council. I just wanted to see if we can get an update either from the mayor or the chief on, you know, where the status of the investigation is as far as what's publicly available on what occurred that day.
I think.
Good evening, Chief George Fuente, 5555 East 8th Avenue. In regards to the unfortunate incident that occurred off of East First Avenue and 60th Street, we've all seen the news, and we had officers respond to a call for service where we had an individual that was battered by more than one individual, in which we have one subject that was in custody at the scene. We have an investigation that's ongoing in order to identify and apprehend any other individual that was involved in the battering of this individual. We're conducting a thorough and complete investigation to understand and know what occurred in that incident. So the minute that we have all of our questions answered, we'll be the first ones, obviously, giving it out to the council, the mayor, and the media.
Just to clarify one point, you said there was multiple people. Is that confirmed, or was it?
There was more than one individual involved. Yes.
Okay, understood. Thank you. So, I mean, Mayor and council members, I mean, I think, you know, what happened that day and the fact that we, in some capacity or another, are so close to this individual. I think many of us knew him. Some of us, you know, might have campaigned in very similar capacities. It just, you know, it hit home to me, and you know, unfortunately, that it ended the way it ended, but it could have ended much worse. It could have ended with a death or what have you. And so, I'd like the assistance of the clerk's office, or if you want to just hand it down. I've drafted up a little memo here, and essentially, I'm just happy to read it for the record. It says, in light of the recent events regarding the catastrophic, uncalled for, and unprecedented attack on Christopher Monzon, a former Hialeah Council candidate and current canvasser for Senator Marco Rubio, I would like to propose here today the creation of an ordinance that would be entitled Election Protection and Integrity Ordinance. And I'd like the council's support in directing that the city attorney draft said ordinance to be set for first reading in the next council meeting if possible, which happens to be election day. The ordinance, the idea that I have would be to protect persons who are actively engaged in electioneering, canvassing, participating in early voting, election day sites, rallies, or other political events within the city of Hialeah, and that if a person that is engaged in the above is assaulted, is battered, killed, or otherwise suffers some sort of bodily harm by another person, that other person be subject to some sort of additional penalty. The additional penalties may include, but may not be limited to, for example, monetary fine or others that the in the good guise of the city attorney's office could present to us. I think it's appalling that this heinous crime occurred here in the city of Hialeah, and I commend the City of Hialeah Police Department for their prompt action. But unfortunately, the way our criminal justice system is set up, I believe, based on what I've seen, that the person arrested was able to bond out rather quickly for $5,000, and even though they had a previous record. So the goal of this ordinance, I think, would be to protect free and fair elections, our First Amendment rights here in the city of Hialeah. And, I think maybe, I'm not sure, but my understanding is that even as elected officials, we have some sort of heightened protection if somebody were to, assault us. But I think, that protection shouldn't just stay with us. I think, as we hire canvassers or have volunteers that work within our political realm, I think they should be given some sort of added protection, I guess, in the eyes of our ordinances, of our laws locally, to say that this is something that we won't tolerate, especially here in the city of Hialeah, that many, many people that founded the city, that were part of the city, that part of our reason for being here, suffered these kinds of incidents in Cuba or in other parts of the world. And to have that happen here, I think requires our action and our input. So I'd like the support of the council, the mayor in this initiative. And, I guess it's more of an open concept, nothing concrete. But that's what I have.
Through the chair.
Sir?
Look, so I like the approach. We're reacting to something, but just, Lorena, I had a quick question. So like, do any other state or county sanctions supersede what we would do here? Maybe I'm not tracking to
I think the concept is probably broad enough where you can craft a policy and some prohibited conduct. I think we're going to be limited in terms of the type of penalties because our charter only allows you monetary fines. You're back within your administrative framework of enforcement, but certainly you can identify it as a source of funding of these fines to be dedicated for some sort of educational campaign or public awareness campaign. There's room to be creative. Certainly, it would require research so that we are, we keep within bounds, within our authority, as long as we are not, treading into areas of laws that are preempted to the state, like elections, the conduct of elections, right, and candidacy and votes and things that you're quite familiar with. Then we should have ample opportunity to maybe craft something that meets the concept that the council member is pursuing to bring back to this board.
and so the research would obviously be done by your team, by your staff. Yeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, thank you, Councilman Calvo, for being proactive and coming up with something. I know that the mayor and I had spoken about doing something like this and coming up with some kind of ordinance that would deter people, right? Because this is not New York City. This is not Los Angeles. This doesn't happen here in Hialeah. The mayor was telling me he's never seen anything like this in all the years that he's been here running in the city. So I think it's great that you came up with something. I just want to clarify that the defendant isn't out on bond, correct? Yes?
Earlier on today, he was still in custody at jail. If he's bonded out recently, I'm not aware of that. But
Okay.
earlier on, he was still in custody.
Okay, all right, thank you, Chief. So I'm open to working on this ordinance with our legal team and coming up with something that would ensure some type of protection or at least deter these type of acts and make people think twice.
Through the chair.
Sir.
Absolutely. I just want to make a comment about Chris. We kept in contact after the election. We ran for the same seat. Great kid.
With the microphone, please.
Can you hear me? just, otherwise, let's pray for him because we kept contact, we had communication all the time. Good, humble person. He does have his views, but at no time he was always an offensive person. It really bothers me the way the national media is actually trying to kill this kid as far as his, who he stands for. And just all of you be aware of that. You know, what I posted was posted all over national media, and they're really talking a lot of bad, negative things about him.
And he's a
Things that
good
he
kid.
doesn't deserve. Just FYI.
He volunteered on my campaign as
I
well.
called the hospital. I know he's at the hospital. I'm not going to say where he's at. He's not picking up the phone. Let's just pray for him.
I'd like to, thank you, sir. I'd like to add something as a former police officer, as a person who knows Chris. I appreciate where you're coming from, Councilman Calvo, but I warn, or I kind of ask you all to pause for a second, because according to what I just heard from the chief, and according to my experience, this is an ongoing investigation. A lot of conclusions have been jumped to. It's an unfortunate incident, to quote the chief. Anytime someone is battered, Chris is a victim of a battery, very unfortunate. But before we jump to the conclusion of saying that this is what is being painted as, we're sure that the motive was, a political motive. We haven't gotten to the conclusion of the investigation, and we're already talking about consequences. And secondly, believe me, I'm not an attorney, so I can't give legal opinion or advice, and I'm not going to. I'm not an attorney in the state of Florida, but I know from police experience, a local ordinance, all we have the power to do is fine someone. And I'm not sure how we're going to find a situation like this. And this particular character who committed this crime is known to every law enforcement officer in Hialeah. He will not pay a fine for any local ordinance fine for anything. And do you know why he's not going to pay it? Because he knows that it has no teeth for arrest. The fine could be pending for the rest of his life, and there's no way to enforce that. I get it. We're angry at the possibility of what this was, but I ask everybody for a little patience till we conclude the investigation and we know exactly the motives before. It's given us nationally a black eye. It sounds like we have those political troubles in here, that political violence that we have in other cities. And yes, he was canvassing. He was wearing a Marco Rubio t-shirt. I've seen the pictures. Yes, I know Chris, but I'm not sure, as a police officer, as a former detective, I know that we cannot make a correlation just because of those two facts. It could be the wrong correlation. It could be just this guy who's a troublemaker, and Chris was in the wrong place in the wrong time and became a victim of this guy. So I ask everybody, I'm not ready yet to pursue this, because I know, like I said, this is, it's the intent is good, but a local ordinance is not going to solve this problem. There are statutes that protect public officials, firemen, police officers in the performance of their duties, but they're state statutes. And they do have other consequences which have arrest powers. This one would not. We could never craft anything that would really have any teeth to it in an incident particular like this one. That's what I had to say. Mayor, were you wanting to add something?
Yeah, so our office, obviously, through the police department, since Monday morning when we found out about the incident, has been literally focused on this issue because it's taken such a national narrative. And, the one question, or really the one directive to the chief, not that I had to give it because it was going to happen anyways, was that I wanted to make sure that the department was thorough in their investigation. And we wanted to make sure that everything was as tight as could possibly be because of the narrative, the national narrative that is evolving on this. And I've been very consistent in my statements that that's where we need to focus right now, is to make sure that the investigation being carried out by our police department is not prejudiced through any kind of bias, political lens. Okay, and I've been very painstaking because I also want to react to what's going on, and I see what's going on as far as the national narrative is concerned. And regardless of whatever views Chris has had which I don't share most of them, it does not absolve the beating that he received and the situation. I have talked to his parents. I've gone to him. I've seen him. I've gone to his house. I've visited with him. I wanted to make sure that he was okay, first and foremost, as a human being. And I congratulate the spirit of wanting to do something, because there is this anxiety of wanting to do something. I have a feeling that that the state legislature is going to craft something, because my understanding is that political views are not baked into the hate crime, statutes, and perhaps they'll be included. Also. But look, if we want to look at this as un borrador, as a way of a working product, I have zero problem with it. I think, obviously, because I know the sentiment of the council, they'd like to work on something. All of us probably are more aghast that this would happen in this city. And as I was telling the council vice president, I've been involved in contentious political campaigns in this city. Contentious. Never have I seen this level of violence. And let's just face it, it may be a symptom of what's going on in our country. And if that's the case, then why would we be immune to it, right? But I would just, our police department is working as quickly as possible, but they understand the political nature of this, and because of that, they're being as thorough as possible. There'll be more that's going to come out probably by tomorrow morning that is going to shed more light on this, and then there'll be probably more information that's going to come out as the next day or two progresses. And that's all I could share as far as I know of what's going on. And again, I have just great faith in the department, and they understand the sensitive nature of this. They understand people want answers, and they're working in that realm. And that has been my statement publicly, and will continue to be my statement publicly. Am I bothered by what's gone on? Absolutely. Do I think Chris should have been, beaten the witness? Absolutely not. There's nothing that should condone that, despite whatever political view he may have. And I would be saying this identical if this was some sort of left-leaning crazy that I, do not concur with at all. There's just no place. There's no place for this in our community. And I'm just bothered by the fact that the Hialeah name has been dragged into this thing as if we are like what we've seen in New York and Chicago and other places, because that is not this community. In fact, take the political narrative out of it for a second. I don't remember any kind of incident like this, period, in the city of Hialeah, where somebody walking, and folks, all of you have walked these streets, have campaigned. For God's sakes, I've had my daughter, I've had my kids, I've had my wife, all of us have gone through this community with political t-shirts on and what have you. And to think that this could happen is extremely, extremely bothersome. Okay. And so look, I applaud the effort, and I don't want to put the brakes on anything. I think we could start crafting something or thinking through something, but I just want it to be hand in hand with our police department and in conjunction with the investigation that they're carrying on.
Through the chair.
Sir?
Mayor, I agree with you 100%. And I think this might take your department some time anyways, right? I mean, I don't think we're going to have it by the next meeting anyways. Your hands are tied. So I agree. I mean, if we're good with it, just so we can see what type of research you find out there, yeah.
Maybe a matter of actually crafting a policy, right? So you make some sort of add tolerance to the oath. I think that's also part of the Citizens Bill of Rights already for the county. I mean, it's tolerance and how to oath tolerance in this political realm, I think is at the crux of the proposal.
Brian, are you comfortable with that?
Listen, I mean, the only thing I'll
The
say,
chair.
yeah, through the chair.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we're comfortable with, but thank you for taking over the meeting. Yes, sir. You
No,
have the
I mean,
floor.
look, the only thing I can say is this, right? you can make all the laws you want, right? The sentiment behind this law is deterrence. We deter people from committing murder by having the death penalty, and yet people still commit murder. And some people are not caught. So I think that's a weak argument for me. And listen, it comes in light of this incident, but it's to prevent future incidents. So at the end of the day, whatever happens with the investigation or doesn't happen, I mean, I don't think that this person's not going to get fined or not fined, right? It happened before this ordinance. Again, I mean, it's the will of the council. I'd like to see the research regardless and see what is available, I guess, on our menu options in order to kind of craft a better idea, a more complete idea. But on the face of it, I mean, I think it's kind of a no-brainer.
I understand, but my point was, we're kind of by this request, it's kind of jumping to the conclusion that a heinous crime did occur in Hialeah. Yes, a battery did happen, but we don't have the conclusion in the investigation to know that this type of crime being described here indeed for sure 100% happened. It may result in that, but I've learned in my experience to let the investigation lead you to those conclusions. That's what I'm saying. This sounded like, okay, we've concluded on our own that this is exactly what happened. This heinous crime has happened, and therefore we have to take action. And again, like what I said, there's no action that I know of that we can take here that would actually have prevented this. I don't think an ordinance or a policy of any sort would have prevented this individual.
Can't
I
really
said.
prevent anything, right? I mean,
No,
at the end
it
of the
can't.
day.
That's
Through the chair, just so we could, I move to take action on this item.
I second it.
Is this a required vote on this? So we have a first from,
I think
yes, sir?
it's just a direction to the
It's just a direction,
administration.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think, we've already said, I think it's a good drawing board that we start looking into it. I think the research is important to start putting it together. I do strongly believe that you're gonna probably see some sort of state action to expand the definition of hate crime, that so many have called it already. And the problem is it's not categorized. And that's been one of the struggles here. The police department can only work with the statutes available to them. And, but again, allow them to go through this. I would tell you, I'm not a law enforcement person, but I would venture to say that the investigation is maybe in the middle of it, of the investigation. I can't tell you it's at the beginning. I think that's already passed, but it's not an investigation that's about to conclude, I think. So, like I said, there may be some more news before the end of the night or by tomorrow morning, and then that's also going to lead to more speculation and more conversation.
If I may, through the chair.
Ma'am?
This has nothing to do with our Hialeah Police Department. They're being professional. They're running their investigation. I think that this just has that little seed of doubt. And this, whether we rule it out or not, it will deter future incidents that may have this kind of outcome to have a consequence. So it's a separate entity. It brought up some of these ideas. It brought up that scare narrative of what we're seeing in Chicago, in New York. And I think that the proactive approach, whether it relates to this case or not, I think it's healthy to at least look into it.
We're not going to tolerate it.
No. And it has nothing to do with our police investigation. That's running its course, and the chief and the entire police department and you, Mayor, are handling it very professional. I saw you on Fox. You answered the questions correctly. But we have a responsibility on the legislative side to put through something within our city to make our residents responsible. And I think that that's what Councilman Calvo was doing tonight. So.
Through the chair,
Ma'am?
I want to caution in my eyes when we react to something like this and we don't know, and when you brought it up, Carl, that we don't know if this was political or not. In the past, we've had, like, in campaigns, that people react immediately to something that happened. And when they investigate a little more, it wasn't exactly what it was. And because we are in the national news, and because everybody's watching what we're doing right now, us reacting to something that we don't know for sure that it was political may even put more light on our city, that they knew immediately that this is a political thing and they reacted to it. I do think that that the information that Councilman Calvo brought up is phenomenal. I think that we should do the research, but be very cautious how we present this, because this is a public forum. Everybody's going to be saying that we are reacting because we knew we're in Hialeah. And as we know, this doesn't happen in Hialeah because it never has. And I've been campaigning since '81, and there were crazy campaigns from then to now. And I have never seen anything like this in a political manner, considering this person has had priors before, that the minute this came out on Monday morning, the first thing a fireman next to me said is, did it happen on East 60th and 1st? And okay, that's a little weird. He said, this person constantly has problems, consistently has problems. Police know it, fire knows it. Can we figure out why that man is still there? That would be a narrative. That would be something that would be important. But if we react when all the news in the entire country is talking about this, because it was in Good Morning America this morning when I woke up, everybody, or when I was watching it, if we react to it right now, they're going to say, of course, that's what happens in Hialeah.
Confirm.
We are confirming this. So I agree with doing the research, and I think that it's a great thing for us to do the future. But if we react right now, we're going to be back to how it's always been with Hialeah. Of course, it happens in Hialeah.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
I do. I'm very cautious of how people perceive our city, because we have a bad.
Chair,
Let me finish real quick.
One second. So what we're trying to say, if you see it right, we just.
Councilman Rodriguez, hold on. She still had, did you need to
Thank
just give her a chance to conclude?
So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that when all eyes are on us, people automatically say that's Hialeah. And I don't want that to be the narrative. I agree that we have to do something. I think that once we find out, was this political or wasn't, you want to do it after the investigation, by all means, I will be the first one saying, go, let's do this. Let's make sure that we take care of this after we know whether it was or it wasn't. But let's first figure it out. That's my personal opinion.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
We're
Yes.
not talking about what happened with Chris. We're just talking about future incidents. This is my understanding of what I'm saying. So that's why I don't really care what the other people say. What Brian is saying is just future. But why not? It's not a Chris situation. It's
We're reacting to the press.
No, we're not. Yeah, because this is the first time we see it. It doesn't matter. Just in case in the future, that's what I'm saying. I don't really care what the media says. This is just because we're all been knocking on doors. This has never happened before. There's a little bit of an undertone last time. We saw it. In the future, we can stop future people actually knocking on doors. So that's the way I see it. I'm not talking about what happened or what his views are or what happened. Maybe he was just, I don't know what happened. But it's just, it hit home to all of us because we do knock on doors. We walk with our kids at night, we knock on doors. It's just an extra thing. Hey, be careful next time. Or if you see another shirt that you dislike, that's what I meant. I'm so sorry about that.
No,
So I don't,
you don't
you
have
know,
to be sorry.
now, as far as with the media, if the media's a problem, I don't have a problem. Understand? But as far as Chris, that's something else. Is that what we're trying to say?
Yeah, through the chair. I mean, listen, the next time there's an election in the city and you go to hire a canvasser, they're going to think twice about it, regardless of what the investigation says or not. And, you know, we can kind of stick with this whole Christopher thing, but I didn't want to get into it, but I remember last year at the early voting site at JFK between two mayoral groups, there was an altercation as well. So this is not a limited incident necessarily that, obviously not to this level, but what I'm trying to say is, let's just calm everybody down and let's say, hey, look, we want to protect our volunteers, we want to protect our canvassers, we want to protect our family members that are with us. It's just an added protection. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, will it prevent another incident? I have no clue, no semblance of a clue if it will prevent another incident, but the intent is to do just that. You know, like any law that you try to pass. Like I said, again, we have 1,001 things that you can do illegal and people do them every single day. So at the end of the day, it's like, we need to set boundaries. that's our main purpose as a legislative body. We set boundaries, we set policy, we set goals and objectives in a normative perspective, and that's what we would be doing with this. So regardless of all the other fluff, I think we've talked long enough about it, so I'm happy to move on.
On a happy note, Council President, I want to congratulate Councilman Tundidor for his efforts of bringing together fire and police in their second annual softball game.
Who won?
Well,
The shirt says it all.
the shirt says it all. I did make a deal that I would wear the winning team's jersey. I wore it yesterday, and I washed it, so I could wear it today. Police won. They have been taking a beating for the last year. A reminder of what happened the first year, and I guess now it'll go back the other way. I guess now, right? The police department will remind the fire guys. But what's more important? I think, not just the cause to support our cadets and all that, but it really brought the Hialeah family together. It really did, and that was good to see. You know, the camaraderie, you get to see the family members of all the police and fire that are out there, and that makes it fun, you know, and at the end of the day, you know, it's almost ribbing amongst family members, which is good. And really one of the things that, and I think I might have mentioned it to you, Councilman, is, you know, love to think of the idea of how could it be expanded to include other departments, right? Because you don't want to leave them out, right? And I know the police and fire, it's almost like Army-Navy game, right? But there are other departments that could maybe participate, and it's just a really good avenue to promote the city where we want to take it. You know, it's one for all and all for one, and so I want to commend you on this. All the council members that were there, being supportive of this, and you know, and I just, you know, let's see it continue to grow, and you know, we'll just listen to police now brag about. And I'm sure fire will now load up to try to take it back. So
There was a box of donuts there earlier.
there was a box of donuts there, and I
That's the
did
prize?
I did hear through the grapevine. I'm not sure what was going on. Somebody was trying to extend the game to give somebody a chance.
That was fire.
I just want to clarify, no, there was just popular demand. There was a lot of noise, and we put it up to a vote, and the police was very loud that they didn't want to extend it. But Mayor, you know, thank you. You've been supportive since day one. I know you know, you love sports the same way I do, and I know that it meant a lot to all of us there that you were there, that you were about to take a couple swings too. I saw you, and again, we were really happy to see you there, Mayor. And again, I want to thank all my colleagues that were there as well, and our parks department that came through big. Willie, thank you, and your team, and everyone that was cooking hot dogs and pan con vite. They were very good. I had one or two. And again, thank our police and fire guys and our special events as well, David and his team. And again, just what the mayor says, you know, we do it for the kids, but also we're a little selfish because we did it for ourselves to be together, right, and be able to enjoy and yell. And I saw Imari yelling a couple times against police, but thank you, Mayor, and looking forward to next year.
Yeah, and one last thing, on November 18th, if I got the date correct, the town of Miami Lakes has challenged the city of Hialeah to a basketball game. I don't have a good record on these things. The last time I played, I ended up with a knee surgery. So, but if there are members of the city council that play basketball, we're going to also include, I already started the recruitment process in our parks department to make sure that we get big kids, big tall kids to play basketball. But you know, it's again here in Northwest Data, another opportunity that also build camaraderie, relationships. You know, we had to work closely with the town of Miami Lakes to get a bridge open, and so I believe it'll be November 18th at Bucky Dent Gym.
Oh, nice.
So if there are members of the city council, any one of us are
I'll come out of retirement for that,
thank
sir,
you,
if
thank
I
you.
need to.
We need that Kevin Durant kind of play out there. So just talked to Carlos and Mark. We're trying to put together a little bit of a roster and we'll have uniforms and everything. And
Are there tryouts, Mayor?
I was thinking about tryouts, but we may have casualties at tryouts, so maybe we just go play and see what happens.
And
But
I heard
anyways,
whatever
thank
city
you.
makes it from the middle gets to open the next bridge or keep it closed.
Oh.
That's a
boy,
good one,
that's a
huh?
good one. I like the way you're thinking. I like the way you're thinking. So anyways, just talk to Mark and Carlos. We're gonna put together a little bit of a roster there and, we can play a little bit and then let the younger bodies take over. I certainly do not want to hurt myself again. So, but anyways, just wanted to make sure you all knew about that. That's November 18th and they'll give you all the skinny on the deal. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Have a good night. Thank you. We're moving on to planning and zoning. Madam Clerk, can you do us the formalities for planning and
Yes,
zoning?
ma'am.
Will all those persons who will be testifying on an item, please stand and raise your right hand.
Las personas que quisieran prestar sus opiniones delante de esta junta, por favor, pónganse de pie y alcen la mano derecha.
Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? If so, say I do.
Usted jura o afirma que el testimonio que va a dar será la verdad, toda la verdad y únicamente la verdad y que Dios sea su testigo. Por favor, diga que sí, si la respuesta es afirmativa.
Let the record reflect that I have responded in the affirmative.
En el archivo público constará que todos han respondido afirmativamente.
Thank you. PZ1 and PZ2 are postponed till November 8th, right?
Correct.
So we're moving right to PZ3. Madam Clerk, can you please read that into the record?
Second reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving a final plat of Snake's Son, accepting all dedication of avenues, streets, roads, and other public ways, together with all existing and future planting of trees, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. Property located at 10300 Northwest 142nd Street, Hialeah, Florida.
Thank you. PZ3 is on second reading, open for public hearing or public discussion. Also, having none, it's open to the pleasure of the council on PZ3. Motion from Councilman Tundidor. Second from Councilman Rodriguez. Please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez? Mr. Tundidor? Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo? Motion carries. The item is approved.
Ma'am. Yeah, I said
corrected
it,
in the
November
announcement.
8th, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. PZ4, please. Thank you.
First reading of proposed ordinance rezoning properties from R1, one family district, to R33, multiple family district, granting a special use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Section 98-1630.8, to allow the expansion of the NBD overlay district and granting a variance permit to allow only residential uses where a mixed use is required. Allow front setback of 3 feet fronting East Sixth Avenue, 7.25 feet fronting East 26th Street, and 9.16 feet fronting East 27th Street, where 10 feet built to line are required. Allow a 10-foot interior side setback where 15 feet are required. Allow 26.2% pervious area where 30% pervious area is the minimum required, and allow 56 parking spaces where 63 parking spaces are required. All contrary to sections 98-1630.1, 98-1630.3, subsection E1, 98-590, 98-2056, subsection B1, and 98-2189, subsection 16A. Properties located at 585 East 26th Street, 591 East 26th Street, and 595 East 26th Street. Folio number 04310800012570 and 04310800012580, Hialeah, zoned R1, one family district. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. PZ4 is on first reading, not open for public discussion. It was tabled until today, since October 25th. So we have the registered lobbyist for PZ4, Manny Rue is present. Pleasure of the council, if anybody wants to discuss or have Manny explain. Sir?
Thank you. Thank
You're
you, Chair.
recognized.
Manny, how are you? Doing well. Manny, just I'm looking at the map here. I just want to confirm the lot. So it's 595. 585, 591.
591, that's the address, and 595.
So it's
East 26th Street, it's the whole block.
And 585.
okay. So 585. Yeah, I see. Okay, 585, 591, and then 595. Right? Is that fair?
So it's that whole block
Well, it's not the whole block. It's
from one corner.
it's through.
From 26 to 27. The whole block. Fronting 6th Avenue.
All this here?
I don't, where's 20? It's a corner in front of Babcock, right?
No, not Babcock. No, no, no.
Where am I? Oh, I'm on the wrong one. Hold on.
I don't have it in
What
this.
It's by Hialeah Hospital. Yeah.
I just want to know.
By Hialeah. Oh, it's from East Fifth Avenue all the way to East Sixth Avenue, all along East 26th Street? Okay, now I got
All
it.
along 6th Avenue from 26 to 27.
Oh, so fronting Hialeah. Okay, Hialeah Hospital.
It's the vacant
Okay,
parcel,
okay,
right?
okay, okay.
It's just confusing because it says street instead of avenue.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And through the chair, sorry about
Sure,
that.
yeah.
So, Manny, and then, so the expectation is to have, and I'm just going to walk through it just for, so 28 units.
28 units, it will be
these are all
2
single-family
stories
homes, right, sir?
only. And we'll have 4 3-bedrooms and 24 2-bedrooms. Nicely sized units.
4 3-bedrooms and then?
No, 4 3-bedrooms and 24 2-bedrooms.
Yeah, so 4 3-bedrooms and then 24 2-bedrooms,
Yes.
okay. All right, and then what about the parking?
Parking, we're providing 2 parking spaces per unit. Plus we have on the street, which are not countable, but still can be used. Along 6th Avenue, we have like 12 spaces, which are city, and then across on 26, we have another 6 or 7. So we've got plenty of parking.
Do you need to have that discussion with Deborah you want to have it? Because we're having a sidebar. Okay. No. I mean, if you wanted to go into the record. Thank you, Manny. I'm sorry. Did you want, go ahead, Matt.
Let me read.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. You still have the chair, and then Madam Casamuño will recognize you after he's done. No worries.
So,
Thank you.
And again, so you're not asking for any parking variances? He is.
Let me repeat the parcels so it's clear with all of you.
Okay.
It's 5 parcels, from which the one with address 585 East 26th Street is developed with a single-family home built in 1955, and the remaining 4 are vacant. And he's asking for a variance. He came for the MBD because the MBD has regulations that creates a more pedestrian-friendly space with less setback. So the MBD allows you to have up to 70 units per acre, but he's going only to build, he could build 24 units on this site, and they are building 24. It's not that they are going up to all the density. So if he would have come to high-density residential, he wouldn't need the guest parking spaces. So the variance that he's asking is for the guest parking spaces. They are providing 2 parking spaces for each of the units, and there on East 6th Avenue, there's available on-street parking, plenty of available on-street parking. And also, this is very close to employment centers. It's close to the 1 block from the Hialeah Hospital, Leon Medical Center, the whole medical corridor, and 3 blocks from the TOD.
Sorry, through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So Ms. George, is the parking that is included, is that parallel parking down 6th Ave? Is part of
Wait,
his,
It's not part of this, it's already there, exists there, that part.
so that's not the number that we're getting
No.
in total. That's
But
additional to this
It's
number.
it's
Got
additional
it.
to this, so if they have guests over the weekend
Right.
or in the evening, that parking is empty because that parking is
typically
mostly
empty?
used for the hospital during the day.
Okay.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Deborah, any voices from the residents? Any talk to me?
No, no one from the, this has a very low scale because they are doing only 2 stories and everything is fronting the avenue and the corners and the back has the parking. So it's like a buffer, the parking is creating a buffer between the building and the house.
And, no, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I haven't forgotten you, but I'm sorry that,
No, I'm good,
thank
I'm
you.
good, I'm
You
good.
are, they're answering, okay, go ahead, sir. Go on, sir.
I feel picked on here. So I got a couple questions, guys. I have a challenge with it. Let me tell you what I stand with that. I see a lot of residential areas. We're going to be changing the look of the area, correct? Because I don't see any type of other buildings like this over
Well,
here.
this used to, the land use of this property was changed from major institutions to medium-density residential. So with the major institutions land use that it had for a while, they could have come with a parking lot, a 4-story office building, an expansion of the hospital, many things that are worse than this kind of downzoning.
Gotcha. Answer my question, sir.
What's the, through the chair?
Yes, sir.
Deborah, so with NBD and with the size of these parcels combined, what is the maximum that he would be able to go to? Well, no, you don't, that's not, I don't think that's an acre.
1 acre.
That's a full acre?
70 units. 70 units.
Well, but then you have to account for parking and stuff, so, okay.
You could go to 70 units, big 1-bedroom unit, and come and ask for 1 parking per unit. And I think it would be worth it. Okay?
Ma'am? Yes.
Okay, so this is a vacant property that is north of Hialeah Hospital.
West. West and north.
Right, north. So if I'm at the roundabout of Hialeah Hospital, I go down that street, that's 6, and that's where it is, correct? Right. So if you're driving south, you go into the hospital. Right, so, correct. So, right across, there's already an office building.
Yes.
So we have so Hialeah Hospital has a parking lot. Okay, this is for you so you can understand. Hialeah Hospital has the parking lot right behind, north of the hospital building.
Yes. Just
North of that, there's a vacant lot.
Yes.
Right, so that's where the houses used to be, not the houses, it's been a vacant lot forever. So you purchased one house that is west of that, correct? That's where the house is, that you're obviously gonna demolish the house in order to make this. Okay, they already have an office building is what I'm trying to say, not an office building. They already have right across the street from where you're building, there's already a clinic there. There's a doctor's office or something. So it's not that you're not going to be right in front of residential on that side. So on the east side, you don't have residential. So the only one that you have residential is on the north side of where you're going to build. And west, correct. Okay.
I think, look, I personally do think, Manny, I think it looks great. I mean, if this was, for me personally, just, for me personally, I get a little heartburn and I've always said this from the beginning. I think some of us have in the past where, we want to increase a lot of density and it's right next to single family homes. I mean, I kind of wish you guys would have bought out the whole block. I mean, that would have made things a lot better. But that's just how I feel with this. Just
Yes, sir.
We can return to the major institution land use that they had before, and they can build another
Well, he's at medium
building,
density right now,
or
right?
they can build an expansion of the hospital that will be much worse, and that was
Deborah, hold
there
on, but
before.
but what is the land use right now?
Now they changed to medium density.
Okay, so it's not
residential.
major institution.
It's medium density residential, so by right, he can build 24 units. So he's only asking for 4 more units.
So medium density, I'm sorry, through the chair, medium density is the max that he could build there,
24 units.
24 units, and there's parking for that? Or he would have to ask for a variance either way?
No, he can, because in the, if you go by medium density residential, guest parking is not required. So he can build a 24 unit with two parking spaces per unit without a variance.
Without the variance?
And this is going to be rentals?
Well, it's rentals, but they sign a declaration of restrictions, and generally in the declaration of restrictions for the MBD, we put there a clause that it cannot be converted to condo, and here that clause is not there. So in the future, it could be converted to condo, which is not a bad
Why
thing.
isn't it there in the restricted
Because
covenants?
the owner didn't want to have that restriction, which is good because
Yeah, that is
you
good.
don't want only
That's fine.
rentals.
That's
You
fine.
want
Absolutely.
in the
Yeah.
future, people to be able to buy a unit too.
Okay.
Motion.
Wait, if I may,
Yeah,
through the
Yes,
ch-
ma'am.
are you all, you guys are done?
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
Mr. Reyes, on the back that connects to that north side to the residential, what kind of fencing, hedge are we putting? How tall is it? Just so that on the north side between the single family home and the parking lot. Mhm. Okay. The privacy from, right. How tall is that prefab? 6? Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Reyes.
From Councilman Rodriguez on EZ4.
Give me 1 second. Wasn't here last. This was postponed from last meeting, right? Eh?
Wasn't here.
Okay. So this is. I'm sorry. Second.
Second from Councilwoman Gonzalez Munoz on EZ4. Please call the roll, Madam Clerk.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
No.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
No.
Mr. Zagbi?
No.
Mr. Calvo?
No.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Motion fails at the pleasure of the council.
EZ5, please.
First reading of proposed ordinance granting a special use permit to allow the expansion of the neighborhood business district overlay for the development of a 58-unit multifamily mixed-use building pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Section 98-1630.8, granting a variance permit to allow all residential units with areas ranging from 523 square feet to 728 square feet, where 850 square feet is the minimum required, and only 10% of the units may have an area of 600 square feet. Allow 5.5 feet front setback for staircase where 10 feet built to line are required. Allow 18% pervious area where 30% is the minimum required. And parking variance to allow 160 parking spaces where 266 are required. All contrary to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Sections 98-1630.2, 98-1630.3, subsection E1, 98-2056, subsection B1, and 98-2189, subsection 16A. Property located at 8155 West 12th Avenue, Hialeah, Zone C1, Restricted Retail Commercial District, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
I need to recluse myself from this item.
Ma'am, duly noted. Yes, ma'am. We have PC5 that is on first reading that was tabled since October 25th to this meeting. It is not open for public discussion, but certainly open for our discussion. We do have the lobbyist present. Pleasure of the council. Any questions?
Yeah, through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Arza, how are you, sir?
Good evening.
Councilman Tunador. So I appreciate you submitted all the declaration of restrictions, the parking signage and process and all that. And again, I do appreciate that. Can you, and also, I just want to be very clear here, when we talk about West 12th, we're talking about, I believe that's a county road. I think, is that?
Correct.
Right, that's one of our main
County
arteries.
managed,
Yeah,
correct.
yeah, yeah.
County managed road.
One of our main arteries that connects two municipalities, right?
No bridge.
So no bridge there. So just kind of, can you walk
Overpass.
us through real quick, the parking, right? So because I think that's probably the biggest concern. Can you tell us how many parking spots are designated for the residential? How many parking spots are designated for the commercial? And then can you explain to us the shared parking situation as well?
Well, my pleasure. Hugo Arza, 701 Brickell Avenue. Appreciate the words, Councilman. Yes, as we promised at the last meeting, we've worked with your staff, and I want to thank Madam Attorney's staff and Deborah personally for working with us to work through the various conditions that we've added to the declaration of restrictions. What we've done is create a number of items that we think will help address any parking concerns that you expressed, but others certainly joined in on at the last meeting. This presentation, if you can go to, I don't number my slides, but if you would kindly move ahead. I think we saw the property again on West 12th Avenue in the site plan. Right now, I don't need it there. So we are so a couple at the first page. Sorry, I've got it. Can you go back one, because that's continued? I think the previous one is, there we go. So from the beginning, we had proffered a shared parking study, or at Ms. Dorch's request, had provided a parking study prepared by a traffic engineer qualified to do so, that had analyzed shared parking conditions across the industry, across the nation, ULI rates. I mean, really taking sort of a macro global look at how do mixed-use facilities work. That study had concluded, and really it was, I think, a principal reason behind Ms. Dorch's recommendation of approval, had concluded that the parking that we were providing in its totality would work because of among other things, because of the nature of sharing parking, and that, certain uses are at some times of the day and other times of the day. The part that candidly we had left kind of undefined until we went through this exercise of the declaration of restrictions is maybe spelling out some of those conditions and what we would do. So what we've done is a couple different things. On the use front, to try and really lessen the impact of certain more impactful uses, we've taken all of staff's recommendations and requests. No school or medical offices are permitted, and to draw a heavy amount of use, both traffic and parking. Daycare uses are limited to one facility with no more than 50 students, and that daycare, it's clear, and it's in the declaration, cannot be expanded. We've seen it before. The daycare expands to become a school. We know how that works. So we've stated very clearly, and again, just for everyone's edification, as we know, the declaration of restrictions obviously runs with the land. It becomes part of the approval and a recorded document. Further limiting the uses, we've taken the opportunity to limit there to be no more than 6,000 square feet of the roughly 22,000 total commercial square feet. No more than 6,000 can be restaurant type uses. That would include a bakery, a restaurant, and no single use within that 6,000 can be greater than 3,000. So you couldn't have a 6,000 square foot restaurant, For instance, you could have at most a 3,000 square foot restaurant or two 3,000 square foot restaurants or a restaurant of 3,000 and then maybe a bakery and coffee shop or something like that. So, but the totality of restaurants, as your code defines it, food serving establishments in general, will not exceed 6,000 square feet. Again, we all recognize that that tends to be a little bit more intensive. And so we wanted to make sure that, we didn't end up with an entire commercial area of all restaurants that might really impact traffic and parking in large part. So we restricted some of the uses as indicated below or on your screen. We also, now I think you can go to the next, we tracked the declaration of restrictions. Some of the requirements are things that we've offered in the past. So for instance, the next one is condominium conversion. That has nothing to do with parking. But the city for a long time has requested that no multifamilies be permitted to do condo conversions. Those folks, you're too young, but those folks who kind of were around, a long time ago, there were a lot of issues with condo conversions. And so that, we included language that's become standard with declarations of restrictions in addition to addressing some of the parking concerns. Continuing on with the parking though, we have 14 two-bedroom units and 44 one-bedroom units. All of the two-bedroom units will have 2 parking spaces assigned to them. All of the one-bedroom units will have 1 parking space assigned to them. So that totals 72 parking spaces. The 28 that are allocated to the 14 two-bedrooms and the 44 that are allocated to the one-bedroom units. Those 72 units will be permitted or will have set-aside parking with signage within, and I would ask if we can move back, or I think it's forward to the very next slide. So what we've done is we've added up the parking at the rear of the property. On the left is the south side. This is oriented where the right is north. West 12th is running on the top. And then when you added that up, we needed 5 more spaces. And so we will basically around the perimeter put signage that residents, that's only residential parking from 5 p.m. to 9 a.m. every day. I think that assuages a concern that I heard, I think specifically from you, tended to hear, some of your concerns at the last meeting of person getting home from work. We're sharing parking. There's retail. Somebody's in my parking spot. So we will have designated parking. Conversely, we'll also provide for other shared parking in the commercial areas. And then if we go back, sorry, this is back and forth because I wanted to show that. If you go back, you'll see that we will have restrictions where the residents themselves who are living there will not be permitted to, and we'll put signage for commercial parking that will be allowed to be and will be sort of designated, for lack of a better word, for commercial parking from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. So the residents have parking that they know starting at 5 p.m. through 9 a.m. every day, no retail can park in. And then the retail establishments know that there's an area of parking that 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Every day. And obviously that matches the more typical retail hours that a store, a restaurant, or anything else may have. So, the idea here is to try and, in addition to having that parking study, which we think instructs us on a macro level as they look at a lot of these kind of projects, to add some teeth, some enforcement, some signage, some assigned parking, some limitation on uses, right, to all of this so that we can, better manage whatever might arise on the property. So I hope that addresses, we tried to capture from our last meeting as many of those issues as we could. We worked with your staff and happy to answer any questions.
Through the chair.
Sure, yes.
Yeah, I just, Hugo, again, thank you for putting that together. At the end of the day, times are changing, right? Times are changing. There's a lot of things that aren't, right? Like our code most of the time. And so I understand that we need to be able to adapt, right, to these changing times. So I understand this and I appreciate, right? And most importantly, again, I thank you for having a plan, right? Because I think we all hate to just, vote on something and blindly, so to speak, right? Without having this type of document put together. So I do appreciate that. The parking was a big issue. I'm glad to see that we've established some of these regulations, right? That study that you mentioned, the shared parking study, is that something that you could also share with us for?
Yes,
for
well,
the
that's
night?
been part of your record.
Okay,
for
okay.
response.
Okay,
I mean,
got
yes,
it.
of course, that was part
Perfect.
of, that was submitted. Deborah requested that prior to going to, at P and Z, she requested it. We waited, we went back to P and Z only once the study was complete. So it's part of your record. I mean, I'm happy to resend it, but I think staff can get it to you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to motion, I'd like to move approve on this.
Duly noted, motion from Councilman Tundidor. Does anybody else have well, we have a second from Councilwoman Casal Munoz. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby? Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for November 8th, 2022.
Thank you all. Good evening.
Thank you, sir. Let's backtrack for a moment. We have to, as a formality on PZ4, we did the motion, the item, no, PZ4, don't worry. The item was not approved, but as a formality, we need to turn this into a motion to deny. Theoretically, those who voted no on PZ4 would again now vote in favor of a motion to deny. So going back to PZ4 for the record, am I correct? Madam
Well, that's
Clerk?
not necessarily the right
Instruction, please
instruction,
instruct
if I
us.
may, right. So I think that unfortunately the applicant has left, but it is appropriate that, given the fact that the motion to approve failed, and given the fact that I think the applicant, if indeed the application as is presented, it is the will of the council to deny, then we need to provide the applicant a written decision of denial and the bases for the decision. I do want to ask that this council take an action with respect to that application. And so let me give you a little bit more of guidance. You've got an application as presented that for which a motion to approve has failed, but we haven't made an affirmative action to actually deny the application. So it is definitely a possibility that if it is the will of this council, move to deny, then that, and that there's a second and we, and there's a vote on that item, that in fact the result may be that the item as presented is denied. Now, I want you to understand that, this application has very many requests. There's a request in there for rezoning. There's a request in there for a special use permit. There's a request in there for variances, several variances. And so, that if we deny the application as presented, then the applicant can't bring back the same application for a year. Certainly, the applicant may challenge the board's decision through an appeal of the decision. And all I would like to ask the council would be for the following. I think we need to take an affirmative action on the application. Two, I think that maybe the appropriate action may be, the applicant isn't here, we're having this conversation, maybe an opportunity to table the application, to give the applicant the opportunity to amend an application and possibly bring back an application that may be less, less complex, have less requests built in, or otherwise, I think, we have to consider, well, what does this council need to do in order to preserve to this applicant, beneficial use of the property? Because if I'm understanding correctly, he now has medium density residential. Is R1 consistent with medium density residential?
No.
So we have to amend the zoning or rezone to a classification that is consistent with the application, so that the applicant can then propose a development as of right or seek other approvals from this council. So right now, you've got a property that has a land use classification of medium density residential. It's not zoned in a district that's compatible with that designation. At the very least, I think that if it is this board's pleasure not to approve the application as presented, that the applicant be given an opportunity to reconsider the application.
Through the chair. I'm I'm a little confused because we've had applications that have come before us that we have not approved. And we understand that if something is not approved, then for a year, they can't do anything on that property. They can't bring another item before the property, before us. Why is that? Why is this different than other applications that we have just said we're not approving it, but we've never taken a vote to deny it? Why is this? Is it because there was a mixture of the land use and the zoning and the variance? Is that the reason? Because
I think it's twofold, right? One is procedure. I think you want to leave the record straight as to what is the decision of this council. At this point, you've had a motion to approve fail. So what has the council really decided in terms of the application? If it's a denial, then, maybe that's the motion to make. Let's have a vote and let's leave the record straight with respect to the application before you. My answer with respect to the second question is that you did have a land use change, a comprehensive map amendment. You did vote in favor of a comprehensive map amendment, which was low density residential. And so this is medium density residential. And so now this is the application that comes after that amendment. And, basic zoning law requires that the property be zoned consistent with the comprehensive plan. So I'm not sure that we've had an application that we have denied. And in addition, the law now has changed where if the board denies a development order and an application is considered a development order, an application before this board, then that we provide the applicant a written decision. So
when did that change?
I'd have to let you know, but it was recent, ma'am.
But it changed in our ordinance or in
statute?
In the statute.
Yes,
Okay,
in the
okay.
statutes.
Yes. That's what I was asking. 'Cause I'm just confused because I don't remember ever having to do this. So I wanted to pinpoint why. And if the applicant would like to table the item, maybe we could reconsider it to table it if he wants to make any amendments to it.
My only concern, ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt you. My only concern, ma'am, is that now we have a land use, a property, and I don't recall an application where we had a land use, a plan amendment we approved, and then left the property zoned in a form that's inconsistent. And so at this point, he would have to either come back and amend the land use, right, Deborah? Or rezone to a designation that's consistent with medium density residential. And so I just want to be able to parcel out or divide, desegregate this aggregate application, right? Because that's what you have. But within that application, we're used to making motions to approve omnibus requests, right? Or a request in one vote. And in this case, I want to be careful because you do have a rezoning request. You do have the extension of the MBD through an SUP and certain variances. And each of those requests are subject to different legal standards. And if I have to reduce this body's decision to a denial, then I want to make sure you're in the best position to defend your
So why did we do this now? Why do we do all of those at the same application at the same time when we've done it before? We do the land use change and then we come up and do the zoning change and then do the variance, at the application. Why was everything? So then I'm even more confused. If we always do everything together.
No, we always do the land use and then the rezoning and the variances all together.
Although applicants have the right actually to request that they be done concurrently. We've only had one applicant, and that was the I want to say the dog kennel, the kennels. But if you recall that application, the applicant requested politely, but within it, the rights to have the zoning application heard concurrently with the land use application.
So did the applicant ask for that on this application?
No, ma'am, but we're just addressing your.
No,
your
no, no, I know,
question.
but I'm asking if the applicant wanted everything done at the same time.
The land use was already approved, it's there, it's the medium density.
I want to be clear,
What-
so,
What he requested altogether, as everyone does, is the rezoning, the expansion of the MBD and the variances. And you want that because you don't want someone to come and rezone and then come later for the variances. You want to consider what they're going to build. That's why all these requests come together.
okay. So then I'm, again, my same question. If this happens all the time, why do we have to give a denial? Why are we being asked to give a denial to our non-approval? Does he want to make does the applicant want to make a change? I don't understand. If we do
I
this
don't
all the
think
time, why we're?
I said, I didn't say that you are required to move.
No,
for a
I'm asking,
denial,
no,
but that
no.
is a choice.
I'm asking why we're being asked of this specific on this application when we haven't had that request that I remember in the past. That's,
Because I think we need to leave the record straight with respect to the application, one. That's the only reason why, if the motion failed, then and the assumption is that the application has been denied. Is that the proper assumption? One. And if that is the assumption, then I need to understand that it was denied completely. The request was denied completely. And what I'm suggesting to you is that may be the pleasure of the council, but maybe the appropriate response is we should at least entertain tabling so that the applicant can amend the application and entertain a rezoning that's consistent with the comprehensive
Through the
plan.
chair. I'm sorry, and Lorena, just to be clear, so if the motion failed, right, that means that this council spoke to not approve that application as is, right? So why would we have to go back? So you're saying we need a motion to reconsider to then table?
No, I'm saying if that is, and this is precisely what needs clarification, right? Because the understanding right now from Councilwoman Casals Munoz was, we voted to approve and it failed, so this non-approval. Is that the body's interpretation that it is then a denial of the application? All right, okay, so if it is a denial of the application, and the applicant, we are leaving this property without a rezoning classification that is consistent with the land use plan. And I think yes, sir?
No, I was following now.
Right, so
Continue.
within the request is a rezoning. So right now, your property is rezoned R1, which is inconsistent with the land use plan, with the land use map.
Have a denial, they need to go back and speak to Deborah, see when they can go forward, come back.
yeah, but then he has to wait for a year.
No, with the same application, but I have to write a letter of denial. And so what I'm suggesting is if I'm going to write a letter of denial, I think that maybe we should also consider tabling that decision
So-
and allowing the applicant to come back on a rezoning so that the property can have a consistent zoning. Maybe the applicant can amend his application.
Wouldn't that be his choice? I'm asking, I'm learning.
What is right now? Let's assume that it was 2 hours ago. So apparently we've been on this for a while. Right now, Deborah, I'm sorry, right now, what is the land use right now? Let's assume it's 2 hours ago.
Medium density.
Medium density. And so that's a fact. It's medium density. Okay. So the application that came before us today was exactly what? You tell me what the application was.
To rezone the property to R33 to make it consistent with the land use, to ask for a special use permit to expand the MBD.
Why R33? Oh, because it's medium density. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
To expand the regulations of the MBD.
Uh-huh.
To allow 4 more units of what he can have by right with the medium density residential, and then some minor setback variances and the parking variance. The parking variance do not have guest parking. because
Not
the
to have
units-
guest parking.
Because the units have the number of parking spaces.
That are required.
What can he do if the application has been denied?
He can
As of
change the-
right.
He can change the application, he can come.
No,
and-
as of
and
right.
By right.
By
By
right.
right, correct. That's what I want to know.
He can build 22 bedroom units with 48 parking.
Under what
spaces.
zoning district?
R33.
But he doesn't have R33 because it hasn't been
Well,
rezoned to
Now with
R33.
the R1, he cannot do anything.
Can't do
because
anything.
the land use and the zoning is inconsistent.
So what I'm
he
suggesting
needs to
is-
he needs to get the zoning consistent with the land use.
At the very
and then
least.
he can build by right, or he can come again with this application and ask for the variances. But if he has his zoning, he can build by right without coming and asking for it.
So right now, let's assume we leave it exactly like this.
Exactly like this, he's in limbo and.
Can't
as
pull a
Lorena
permit.
said,
He
he
can't
cannot use
do
the
anything with the
because
property.
has a land use and zoning that is. If he comes with an R1,
So.
yeah.
And if we deny it?
So through the chair, so we're actually educating him right now.
Educating ourselves, apparently.
No, it's not about that, because yes or no, because we don't do this for anybody else. So again, so why are we going back to it? Yeah, you guys understand? I don't-
Because the land use right now, how it is, he can't do anything with his land. Because it's
All right.
It's
Through
inconsistent.
through the chair, just real quick. So Lorena, so we can, so if this body then just motions to deny, he could always come back with a new application for a different zoning.
A year from now.
So what I'm suggesting
no,
is
no,
at
no,
that.
no,
Not a year,
no.
not a
He
year,
can-
not a year.
He can come in the next meeting and only ask for
Rezoning.
rezoning to R33, and that's it, without any variance. He can amend he can amend 24 units.
So I'm suggesting that at the very least, we reconsider making any motion to deny outright and giving him an opportunity to at least come back and ask for an application to rezone
Right.
the minimum, the least intense district that you can rezone to, consistent with medium density is R3?
R31.
R31.
I don't have a problem. The challenge I'm having is why are we deciding to do it?
Because you need to give him an opportunity to have beneficial use of his property.
Yeah, because we took it away from him when we didn't accept his application.
When you amended the land use plan to medium density residential and you have left
You have
them
to
with
be
no
consistent.
zoning district in order to develop.
Isn't it better to table it and then he can amend it and fix it instead of just?
He can amend it and bring forward a plan, at the very least, a zoning application to a district that is consistent with the
Yeah,
land use plan.
but yeah, you table and then a lot of things happen from now to then. So real quick. So I just want to make sure that we're very clear on this. In the event that it's denied now and he comes back with a different application with an R33, no NBD expansion, et cetera, and it's denied again at that moment, it falls back into limbo.
Yes. You're not allowing him to develop and him, the applicant. I mean,
Would have to
the
come
owner.
with an R3.
Yeah, the minimum zoning district would be R31. And I would suggest that if that is the pleasure of the council, that we at least consider rezoning this property to R31.
All right, so we would need a motion to reconsider and then a
You don't
motion
have,
to.
you've done nothing other
I-
than a motion to approve the application has failed.
All right, so just to give him a chance to bring back a new application, then we move to deny, I motion to deny.
Okay, second.
Second, to deny PZ4 by Councilwoman, I'm sorry, the motion by Councilman Dundidor and a second from Councilwoman Garcia Rovez. Please call the roll.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casa Munoz,
Oh, I thought you said me. Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robles,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is denied.
Will the council consider a motion to rezone to R31 at this time?
Why are you making that?
No,
Why?
because we're leaving him in limbo.
Well, I don't know. Come back and decide and he can request that.
Okay.
Right.
There you go. I don't know. At least that's.
Agreed.
Well, apparently the eighth council member spoke over there. So I didn't realize that we had one, but thank you. Thank you for that.
Guys, all seriousness, I got a lot of questions. Right now it's denied, right?
Now it is, sir, yes.
Okay, so it's his job to figure it out. Am I right? I agree. Again, I'm learning. Yeah. Let's move on.
Learning, we're on the planning and zoning board.
I guarantee that we didn't have this. We haven't had this I've never had this.
First reading of proposed ordinance rezoning property from RO residential office to B1 highly restricted retail
Are you
district.
sure you want to come up
Granting
here
a
now?
special use permit pursuant to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Section 98-161, to allow a pharmaceutical research center. Granting a variance permit to allow front setback of 5 feet where 20 feet are required, and allow 17 parking spaces where 19 parking spaces are required. And allow 17 parking spaces where 19 are required. All contrary to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Section 98-929 and 98-2189, subsection 20. Property located at 355 West 49th Street, Hialeah, zoned RO residential office. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
PZ6 is on first reading. Not open for public discussion at this point, but certainly open to the pleasure of the council on PZ6. We have Felix here, as a lobbyist. Answer any questions. Are you on PZ6?
I'm PZ6 and PZ8. PZ6, yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
Through the chair, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sartor, right?
Yes, sir.
This is right next to Red Road here, right? Is it next to that, the Aspen Dental? Is that
It's one away.
One
It's
away?
one away from the Aspen. Dentist.
what's in between the Aspen and this?
There's another like residential office. I believe it's like a tax place or something, like a lawyer tax place. Yeah.
What are they going to be testing here? Mr. Sartor?
It's a what? It's a medical
It's a
spa.
spa?
A spa.
Is it really?
It's a spa. Well, that changes everything. It's a spa. It's a spa.
No.
So what type of research are you going to be doing?
So what they do is they do basically pharmaceutical companies hire them, particularly in large metropolitan areas, to test certain drug trials. So, for instance, you're going to do a trial of Norvasc or hydrochlorothiazide, and you would have
Very impressive.
and you would have.
How long have you
Did you
been
learn
practicing
that?
that?
Did you learn that word?
Yeah, I learned it a little while ago. So what they do is just strictly pharmaceutical grade drugs, and what would happen is that you come in during the day. They usually drive you in, and they check out. Does a person develop a rash? Does a person feel sleepy? All
Do they
those.
test animals here?
No animals. No animals.
Human?
Yeah.
I know.
No, there's various phases on how they do this. So there's they basically allow the phases also where certain drugs require you to sleep over.
Right.
So what this allows you is for a few people to be able to sleep over, and they're monitored while they're there. Yeah.
And
You're welcome.
if I may, through the chair. So I saw that the Planning and Zoning Board recommended some declaration of
Yes.
restrictiveness for the covenant. So how many staff members and patients typically do they have that they're agreeing to limit that?
Right. So the current use has 12 parking spaces as designed. With this new and improved plan that we're doing, we're actually going to have 17 parking spaces, right?
Okay.
You have a requirement of 19, all right? However, we did proffer a declaration of restrictions which limits the amount of patients that we could bring in, limits the amount of staff that we could have. And also, because of the nature of the business, Councilwoman Perez, we have people here are mostly bussed in because of the fact that you're going to get, for liability reasons, they're not going to allow you to drive.
Right.
So we feel that, with a declaration of restrictions that your staff worked with us to put together, and we've proffered it to, I believe we're working with Assistant City Attorney Jove. that, that we could live within those conditions and those restrictions of what they were.
Thank you, Mr. Nisaragi. Good, yeah.
No motion. Second. Motion second.
Okay, we have a motion for PZ 6 from Councilwoman Crisal Munoz, and we have a second from Councilman Rodriguez. Please call the roll.
Mr. Tundidor,
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz, Ms. Garcia Robles,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for November 8th, 2022.
Hey, can I tell you something? Just as a point, just a point of personal privilege, or maybe. No, I'm not going to discuss anything. Listen, all I want to say is the following. Maybe consider in the future that, we don't have like for zoning, maybe just do it in one reading. I mean, you have like first, second reading. There's a lot of readings to it. And honestly, sometimes if you just do it all in one reading, it might be easier. It might be a way to speed things up for you.
It's never perfect the first time. So
Well,
you get
that's-
to massage it the second time.
Well, that's
You know?
That's true too.
That's the house in between.
All right, PZ 7.
First reading of proposed ordinance rezoning property from R1 One Family District to R35 Multiple Family District, granting a variance permit to allow a front setback of 10.5 feet, where 25 feet is the minimum required, allow an east side setback of 4 feet, and west side setback of 7 feet, where 10 feet is the minimum required respectively, and allow 23% pervious area, where 30% pervious area is the minimum required. All contrary to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, sections 98-589, 98-590, and 98-2056, subsection B1. Property located at 350 East 40th Street, Hialeah, zoned R1 One Family District. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
7 is on first reading, not open for public discussion, certainly open for our discussion for our pleasure. Sir. I'm sorry, Frank, just to clear up something before we go on. Do we have Frank as a registered lobbyist or representing this property? I don't see it on the backup. If you are, I'm apologize.
I was for the planning and zoning, and they didn't ask me to resubmit another one.
Oh, no, I don't know. I just didn't see
Because
it
I
here.
did it for
could
the
be
land
missing it.
use and planning and zoning for rezoning.
Go on, sir. Okay, okay. Just stay there, please, Frank. Go ahead, sir.
Stay there. Stay.
Yeah.
You don't have this?
And on the south, this is one of those blocks that has
This is
like a
multi-family?
front and a
No.
back on different streets.
This
And
one.
you have a
Commercial,
daycare
commercial.
next to it, and then across
It's
the
nice.
street,
Ice
there
cream.
is
Yeah.
the family. And
Mhm.
Through the chair.
Then this
And
one.
it's daycare through 12 years old, according to their sign. Birth to 12 years. Yeah. That's their
not
sign.
here, next to this. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The 3.
We have some elevations that were provided for the hearing and for the zoning, site planning elevations.
You have the ground floor
Uh,
plan.
You should have them.
It's a ground floor
I'm sorry,
plan. It's
Mr.
not,
Chairman,
it's not a
before
rendering.
Frank De La Paz, 9361
sir.
Bird
You're
Road.
good.
On
Thank
behalf
you,
of the
sir.
applicant.
If I may, through the chair.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. De La Paz, this is a three-story building, correct? Or is it the ground and then,
Yes. It's on the,
it's three?
yeah, first story, yes, the elevation will be 3-story, but not necessarily.
I see it's divided in half, the building.
Yes.
Okay,
the
I see
floor
now.
plan, the first floor will have parking. The entrance is gonna be, on the south side. 39 place. That's why we're pushing the building to the north, which is
thought it
be
was on
looking at
40th.
the trash compactor for Sedano. It's a nice view that we have to the north. No, there's no variance on parking. Just on lot coverage and the setbacks in order to accommodate 5 units, which if you go to to the east, there is a condominium there that was built as a condominium, basically the same thing, but we don't want to go as a condominium.
It's 5 units, two parking spaces per unit, no gas parking because it's high density residential and R35. So each unit will have 3 parking.
As I told you before, the only regret that I have is that this property was the last working tax filing. Yeah, so about 5 years ago, we had it. But the bylaw, tax filing. It's a very interesting neighborhood. It was a very,
He didn't hear it, he didn't get it.
yes, it's a very interesting neighborhood, like I say, to the north is ready to be redeveloped, to the west, to the east, to take care of the those, but I guess we're taking a risk in starting the trend to be more modernized and beautiful. For vehicles, yes.
For vehicles, yes.
For pedestrian would be the north.
7, we have a motion to approve from Councilwoman Casals Munoz. We have a second from Councilman Rodriguez. On TZ 7, please call the roll.
Mr. Zagri,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor. Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for November 8th, 2022.
Thank you, Eddie.
And we did find, and I apologize, it was on the record, your lobbyist form. I'm blind, but it is on the record. I don't think we need one, right? It's on the record. Thank you, sir. We have PC 8.
First reading of proposed ordinance approving a final plat of County Line Corporate Park North, accepting all dedication of avenues, streets, roads, or other public ways, together with all existing and future planting of trees, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date. Property bounded on the north by West 116th Street, on the south by West 112th Place, on the east by West 36th Avenue, and on the west by West 44th Avenue, Hialeah, Florida.
PC 8 is on first reading. Pleasure of the council. We have, you're representing the property.
Yes, sir.
Anybody has any questions?
Chair, I have a question.
Why don't we have who the owner of the property is? And we didn't have that in,
What?
County Line Corp.
Oh,
okay. Thank you. Motion to approve.
Motion on PZA.
You could ask him questions.
Mr. Calvo,
Yes.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robles,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Tumidor, Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for November 8th, 2022. First reading of proposed ordinance granting a variance permit to allow 24 backout parking spaces where 56 parking spaces are required, where backout parking spaces are only allowed in residential zoned areas. Allow 1.7% pervious area where 10% pervious area is the minimum required, and allow a waiver of minimum landscape requirements for the legalization of an existing restaurant. All contrary to Hialeah Code of Ordinances, Sections 98-2189, 98-2190, and City of Hialeah Landscape Manual, latest edition dated July 9th, 2015. Property located at 5881 Northwest 37th Avenue, Hialeah, zoned M2 Industrial District. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalties for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
First reading, not open for public discussion, but certainly for our discussion up here. I believe we have the owner. I am the owner. Eduardo Blanco. Okay, and Florentino Blanco? He's not here. Okay, but I'm the principal. Anyone have any questions?
If I may, through the chair.
Yes.
Hi. I wanted to see, how long have you guys been in business here in the city?
As a formality, and I apologize.
Your
for
address,
not
I'm
doing it
sorry,
before you
yeah.
speak. Your full name, you gave us your full name and your address? please, for the record.
Eduardo Blanco, 305 Harbor Drive, Key Biscayne.
Thank you, sir. Go on, Madam Vice President.
How long have you been in business here with the restaurant in the city of Hialeah?
This building is an industrial building. It has several bays.
Mm-hmm.
One of the bays is occupied by a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I purchased this building say 21, 22 years back. And we've been, occupying the building with our own business. We're a distributor and of a paint and paint-related product. And one of the bays is occupied by COD Seafood. And Mr. Carvalho is the owner operator of that business. And it's a restaurant in an industrial building.
So how long has the restaurant been functioning in that building?
The restaurant's been operating.
Longer than you've been the owner.
Before I bought the building.
Right. So
Been there, I don't know, 30 years.
30 years. So now this is a new requirement, right? A new special use that we're doing, Deborah, for this building?
Seafood market. And the seafood market turned over the years into a restaurant.
Mhm.
So now, when they came to renew the license, or I don't know how DERM approached them, they need to have a grass.
The grease trap. Yeah.
The
Yeah.
grease.
That's
So-
very typical of an everyone. Mhm. You have to go through the whole use.
Yeah, yeah. So
Correct.
they came with a grease trap permit, and then
Mhm.
we said, well, you don't have parking, you don't have landscaping. Building says you don't have accessibility because these have dog height, so now
Mm.
they have to put a lift. So they're really now in the plans converting this into a restaurant that spontaneously was converted into a restaurant.
But it's
So
been
they are-
functioning as a restaurant.
It's functional, so they are legalizing what they have there.
Right, right. So as of right now, with the requirements, what's these requirements that the Florida Department of Transportation is reaching with them?
The thing is the following. They don't have the park. They have the parking backing out to the street. The parking is not enough.
Right.
But in that area across the street, there is some on-street parking.
Mhm.
So the cars park there. And then the north side of that street is 59th Street. That's the city limit. So
Right.
across the street, there are the railroad tracks, and there is some kind of swale area there. So all the cars park there. but informally, because no one, I think there is a property that has a permit because it's kind of improved with gravel and they park their cars there. So
Okay.
if their clients go now and they park there, they can park there.
Right.
But my suggestion was, since the other ones improve the area and have some kind of agreement with FDOT, maybe you can have the same kind of agreement. But it's not easy to reach out to them. I gave them a number of
we've
a
been trying,
contact
we've
that I
been-
have, but that takes forever.
Forever. Okay.
This all along 59th Street is on the north, the railroad track. And between the railroad track and the street is the floor area.
Mhm.
That we've been keeping up to that floor area. We clean it, we,
Right.
you know, we mow the place, you know, whenever the illegal dumping, we call to have it picked up. So we're really taking care of it. And from what we understand is that we could request to the city of Miami, you know,
FTOT.
to, yeah. So, yeah. I have the phone number of the person.
Through the
Right.
chair.
Yes, sir.
Give me just one second, because I'm not done.
Yes,
Yeah.
go on, ma'am.
Go ahead. So you were saying,
So we have all the other bays, this building is 36,000 square feet.
Mhm.
All the other bays are basically warehouse.
Right. I'm familiar with the area. I think the Ray Chavez distributor is a block down. Ray Chavez, he's like a meat
Yes,
distributor.
It just
Yeah.
moved north of us.
And there's like a recycling center a little bit north, the street ahead. I'm familiar with the area. So that's why,
7th Avenue,
Right.
54.
yeah. Yeah, I'm familiar. So I just want to see, because this business has been around for a while. Will this change affect at all the clientele, the parking? I want to hear from the business owner to see how, is it going to affect you at all? Do you have enough parking? How? Right. Okay. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Deborah, as a formality, I didn't think you were going to speak, sir. You're not registered or the owner.
My name is Nelson Ruben Carvacho. I am the owner of COD Seafood. I live in Hollywood, Florida.
An address, a complete address, please, either business or.
2411 North, 57 Terrace. And I'm sorry, 2411 North, 57 Terrace, Hollywood, Florida, 33021.
Go on, sir.
Oh,
Who
just
was-
why-
who had it
I-
last?
I-
Yeah,
I-
who was speaking?
Go ahead, Mr. Rodriguez, go ahead.
I thought I called you
Go
last.
ahead.
So, through the chair, I work closely. I worked in warehouses before, in Tropical Auto Parts. I've worked many years. Everybody has a clean, organized place. Parking lot's kind of difficult, but it's always clean. It's probably one of the bright spots, and I don't know them. I'm just telling you my personal experience. So
Mhm.
just FYI with that, the place is always cleaned up. I have gone with my team to eat there, and it's pretty one of the nicer places.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's overall.
Closure, there's parking backing out into the street that will be removed. They will add some landscaping, some drainage, so it's an improvement. The current
I'm just telling my
conditions
experience in the
restaurant
neighborhood.
already
Right. So, Mr. Carvacho, you're okay with this? ¿Tú estás bien con estos parqueos, el número que tienen, o necesita más? ¿Qué es su opinión?
In this moment,
In this moment, we are okay.
No,
because-
ella te lo va a repetir si tú te sientes cómodo hablando en
Ok,
español.
En este momento estamos perfectos porque
In this
tenemos
moment
toda
we
la
are
zona
perfect.
despejada.
Estás
because we
bien.
have the whole
Correcto,
section.
pero ahora con las nuevas reglas me complican un poco la cosa. Entonces, los
With-
parqueos que necesito son
With the
los
new
del frente
rules,
y los del
it's
otro
a little
lado
more
y todo eso.
complicated.
Eso
With-
ya no lo vas a tener.
Voy a tener algunos. Voy a tener
¿Como cuántos necesita de lo que hay?
como cuánto necesito, ojalá 50.
Pero-
Que no, el negocio camina bien, el negocio tengo una buena clientela, tengo buen servicio, estoy limpio, tengo
Pero con los 24 estás bien. De lo-
sí.
Sí. Okay.
This is industrial warehouse. Parking front all road.
Mhm.
The only parking that four or five parking in front of it where, never have.
Were not inside the property. There were backout parking spaces and half of the car was within city right of way. So
Okay.
they didn't have, they used the spaces, but they didn't have it. But very soon Miami-Dade County will redo that whole street and they will build some parallel parking. So
Oh.
you will have that parking there.
Perfect.
And also there are
That's
many
good.
businesses around and they work next door
Yeah.
and they don't use.
Right. They go walking there. They go to have lunch. Okay. All right. Second.
We have a motion to approve, Councilwoman Vivian Casal Munoz, and a second from Vice President Perez. Please call the roll.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby? Mr. Calvo?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for November 8th, 2022.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good luck. If there's nothing else from my colleagues, we move to adjourn. Everybody agree? We adjourn today's meeting at 10:06 PM. Thank you all.